Let's begin episode 11 of Whispers of the Ancients, a poetic, immersive journey into the world of the Parthian Empire. Whispers of the Ancients, episode 11, the Parthians, Lords of Arrows and Empire C. To 47 BCE to 24 CE, Iran before Rome knew fear, before the silk crossed from China to the sea, they were the horsemen of the Iranian plateau, silent shadows with eyes like falcons, and bows that sang like thunder. They rose from dust, not with trumpet calls, but with galloping hoofbeats, bowstrings, and the will to build something lasting where empires had fallen and vanished. They were the Parthians, lords of the steppe, heirs of Achaemenid glory, and guardians of the east against the tide of Roman might. Not builders of marble, but of endurance. Not sculptors of stone, but of resistance. Let us ride now into their world of shifting power, mounted nobility, and the eternal struggle between East and West. 1. The roots in Parni dust. Long before empires bowed to eagles or crescent moons, the Parni were a nomadic tribe, distant kin of the Scythians roaming the steppes of Central Asia. They were wanderers, but not without ambition. By the 3rd century BCE, as the Seleucid Empire fractured under its own weight, these mounted warriors descended like wind over the northern reaches of Iran, led by Arsaces, a name that would echo for centuries. They seized the region of Parthia, the modern-day Eurasian, and thus was born the Arsacid dynasty, with a throne carved not in stone, but in strategy, adaptability, and the promise of resistance. Their capital, Nisa, a city of wind-kissed bricks and sun-baked stone, stood as the first heartbeat of a new empire. 2. Between two worlds, East and West, the Parthian realm was a crossroads not just of geography, but of ideology. To the east lay Bactria and the riches of Asia. To the west, Mesopotamia, the old world of Babylon and Seleucia, and beyond that Rome. Caught between Hellenistic heritage and Iranian identity, the Parthians borrowed, absorbed, and redefined. They spoke Greek in courts, but worshipped Zoroastrian gods in temples. They minted coins like the Greeks, but crowned kings like the Achaemenids. Their architecture blended steppe simplicity with Persian grandeur. This fusion was not confusion, it was their strength. They were not one thing, they were many things held together by loyalty to the Arsacid line and the horse beneath their feet. 3. The Parthian shot, a dance of death. In war, the Parthians were not mighty siege builders or wall breakers. They were phantoms on horseback, masters of maneuver, of illusion, of time and terrain. Their greatest weapon was not iron or fire, but the horse archer, trained from youth to ride and shoot in a single breath. Their signature move, feared across empires, was the Parthian shot. A rider galloping away, turning backward in full flight, and loosing an arrow that struck as surely as if aimed from stillness. It was not just clever, it was devastating. At the Battle of Carrhae 53 BCE, Rome marching under the bold but foolish Crassus met Parthia's steel silence. The Roman legions, heavy and proud, advanced across the open plains of Mesopotamia, but they found no lines to clash with, only swift cavalry, dust and death from afar. Parthian archers circled like vultures, exhausting the legions, piercing shields with endless volleys. The Romans broke, and Crassus, one of Rome's richest and most powerful men, was captured and executed. His head was used in a Parthian play. A warning, a trophy. Rome would never forget. 4. Kings of many crowns. To rule an empire as vast and diverse as Parthia required more than steel and arrows. It required diplomacy and a careful balancing of local autonomy and royal supremacy. Unlike the centralized rule of the Achaemenids or the Romans, the Arsacid monarchs governed as king of kings, a federation of powerful noble houses, each ruling their own provinces with considerable freedom. It was a patchwork of satrapies, loose, elastic, and resilient. The king was not a god. He was first among equals, dependent on alliances, on marriage, on loyalty bought and earned. Sometimes it was a strength, sometimes it was a trap. In times of unity, they stood invincible. But when the houses quarreled, the empire cracked, and the cracks, over time, let in the storm. 5. Cities in the sand, hecatompylos to Siphon. Though nomadic in origin, the Parthians were no strangers to urbanity. They built and maintained great cities, hekatompelos, an early capital, whose name meant City of 100 Gates, Nisa, with its royal compound and storage houses, brimming with wine and records. Siphon, grand and strategic, built upon the banks of the Tigris, not far from ancient Babylon. Siphon would become the heart of Parthia's western front, a rival to Rome's Antioch. There were no marble forums, no soaring colonnades of imperial ego. Instead, Parthian cities blended Greek planning with Iranian modesty. Courtyards, gardens, pillared halls cooled against the desert heat. And in these cities flowed not just water and commerce, but ideas. Zoroastrian theology, Hellenistic philosophy, Buddhist missionaries from India, and goods from as far as China. The Silk Road pulsed through Parthian lands, and in its wake came not just trade, but a cultural symphony. Dear seekers of ancient wisdom, if you're enjoying this journey through the forgotten dust and golden light of Parthia, like, subscribe and share Whispers of the Ancients. Let us know in the comments what hidden empire or mystical age do you wish to explore next. Your voice shapes the path we ride. Now, back to the silence of hooves. 6. Faith of fire, Zoroastrian roots. Though diverse in culture and creed, Parthia's soul leaned eastward toward the sacred fire. Zoroastrianism, born in the highlands of eastern Iran, remained the silent spine of the empire's belief. Temples with ever-burning flames, priests who tended rites older than Rome, and a worldview shaped by the eternal battle between Ahura Mazda and Angra Mainyu, order versus chaos, light versus shadow. But the Parthians were not zealots. They allowed the gods of others to walk freely. Greek deities, Babylonian spirits, and later, even the whispers of early Christianity found space within the empire. This tolerance was not born of apathy, but of confidence. The fire need not consume all to shine. Point 7. The shadow of Rome. Though Carrie had shaken Rome, the two empires were destined to clash again and again. Over Armenia, over Syria, over trade routes and pride. Wars flared and faded. Sometimes Parthia had the upper hand, sometimes Rome. Emperors like Trajan would march deep into Parthian lands, briefly seizing capitals before being repelled by distance, resistance, and the desert itself. The Tigris became the boundary, but also a mirror. East and west, two lions circling one another, to dreams of civilization. And in that mirror, the Parthians held fast, never conquered, always adapting fate. Queens in the shadows, women of the flame in the chronicles of power. Parthian women are rarely named. Their words were not etched in stone, nor sung in surviving epics. But in the silence between the scrolls, their presence lingers as regents, advisors, mothers of kings and keepers of flame. Queen Musa, a Roman slave turned Parthian empress, is among the few whose name survived the winds. Gifted to the Parthians by Augustus, she rose to dizzying heights. First consort, then queen, then co-ruler alongside her son. Her face was minted on coins. Crowned in royal regalia, a foreigner ruling a proud eastern realm. But power, especially for a woman in a patriarchal world, is a double-edged blade. Musa's reign ended in exile or execution. The sources disagree, but history's whisper carries both fear and awe. And beyond Musa, the noble houses held women of silent influence. They arranged alliances, whispered into kingly ears, and birthed dynasties from the cradles of silk and steel. 9. Art of the eternal gaze. Parthian art was no echo of Greece or Babylon. It stood apart, frontal, fixed, resting. Unlike Hellenistic statues that turned and twisted in motion, Parthian figures faced forward, gazing directly, almost eerily, at the viewer, eyes wide, almost divine, hands clasping gifts or weapons as if offering or judging. It was not art for pleasure but for presence, to imprint power, to stare across time. Their murals, textiles, and metalwork carried symbols old and new, winged horses, fire altars, pearls of royalty, and archers in robes and boots, bowstrings taut on coins. Their kings evolved, bearded and crowned, not in nudity like Greeks, but armored, adorned. Above the mortal plane, this was an empire not of aesthetics but of assertion. 10. Silken swords, trade beyond the horizon. Across the scorched posses of Iran, Through mountain gorges and sunburnt plateaus, the Silk Road meandered like a golden river, and Parthia was its gatekeeper. From the Han emperors of China to the marble courts of Rome, silk, jade, spices, and secrets flowed, and the Arsacids sat at the center. They levied tolls, built rest stops, secured routes. They made their wealth not just through conquest, but through commerce. Caravans from the east carried silks, lacquerware, and knowledge of lands few Parthians ever saw. From the west came gold, glass, linen, and ideas. And with every exchange, Parthia enriched not just its coffers, but its soul. Even Buddhism, traversing from India to China, paused in Parthia's oasis cities. Its monks welcomed, its sutras pondered. Dear traveler of time, if you found yourself lost in the twilight between myth and history, like, comment, and subscribe to Whispers of the Ancients, and tell us what forgotten realm or unsung civilization would you like us to explore next. Your suggestions shape the stories we resurrect. Now, onward deeper into the dust. 11. Twilight of the Arsacids. Empires rarely fall with a bang. More often, they wither in silence. By the 2nd century CE, the Parthian Empire had grown weary. Internal strife among noble families weakened the core. Vassals became unruly, and new rivals emerged not just from the west, but from within in Fars. The ancient Persian heartland, a family of fire-worshipping nobles, the Sassanids, began to rise. Where Parthia was diffuse and traditional, the Sasanians were centralized and reformist. They claimed descent from Achaemenid kings, invoking Cyrus and Darius as ancestors and inspiration. Into 24 CE, at the Battle of Hormuzgan, the last Parthian king, Artabanus IV, fell in combat against Ardashir I, the first Sasanian Shahanshah. The Parthian banner was lowered, the Sasanian sun rose, and the age of arrow and horseback passed into memory. 12. Legacy in the dust. Though the empire was gone, the Parthian spirit lingered. Their military tactics, especially their cavalry, were studied and feared for centuries. The Parthian shot became legend, emulated by Turks, Mongols, and beyond. Their art influenced early Islamic design. Their cities evolved into medieval strongholds, and their model of decentralized aristocratic rule echoed in countless kingdoms. Even the name Parthian remained potent, a symbol of Eastern defiance against imperial ambition. In Rome, when enemies struck back unexpectedly, they called it a Parthian shot, a final blow, a lasting sting. 13 whispers beneath the ruins. Today, the bones of Nisa rest beneath the Turkmen sun. The wind hums through crumbling pillars. Coins lie buried beneath market stalls in Tehran. The horses are long gone, but the dust remembers. The Parthians were never meant to last forever, but for nearly 500 years, they held the line between east and west. They were the whisper before the storm, the shadow before the dawn, the silence between empires. Their story, half lost in the gaps of history, reminds us that not all greatness shouts. Some simply ride into the horizon, bow drawn, never looking back. This concludes episode 11 of Whispers of the Ancients, the Parthians, Lords of Arrows and Empire. If this journey stirred your imagination, share it, subscribe, and leave a comment with your thoughts. We rise on the winds of your curiosity.